morning, Hoosier Nation, and welcome to this Christmas edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Elon and Kennesaw State, a Hoosier Morning After twofer. Your Indiana Hoosiers close out the non-conference portion of the schedule with 2 wins, taking care of business like they needed to. Win over Elon 96-72, and a win over Kennesaw State 69-55. Going into these 2 games, obviously Indiana coming off a disappointing Kansas game, a little banged up. Trace Jackson-Davis out for both those games for precautionary reasons, as the university says. We don't know the true extent to how he's banged up or how he's injured, but obviously a decision to keep him out and relax him in games like this, which is fine because these are games that obviously Indiana could handle without him and should handle without him. And then X obviously out because of his foot injury. And then as well, we also had the issue of Jordan Geronimo being out for the Elon game with what we found out now in this second game yesterday was a dislocated finger. We saw his finger wrapped up in the Elon, but we didn't hear anything per se before that Elon game. But some ups and downs in these 2 games that we saw, obviously going against opponents that are down there in the rankings and created different problems here and there for the team, and not exactly the performances you'd want to see from the team, from IU coming out of these 2 games and dealing with what we had on these road games leading up to these, getting home and everything. But there's obviously a lot stacked up against you in these types of games. It's the Christmas break. Is your mind really there? Obviously, they're players they need to be. There's no excuse for it. You've got your starters out. You've got arguably your best 2, maybe 3, 2 of your best top 3, I would say, and no one can argue that, players that affect the game. Obviously, Trace Jackson-Davis being the best player on our team, and then I would argue, if he's not independently the best player on this team, that Xavier Johnson, for what he creates and what he does on both ends of the court, is the second, if not third best player or most important player on this team. So it was interesting to see going into this. A lot of weight obviously put on Jalen Hood-Schifino in these 2 games, coming off being injured with his back flaring up, an injury that's ongoing and something that we may see in the not too distant future with him. Something we got to keep tabs on and everything with him. Who knows what he will bring to us moving forward in these games, in the BigTen season, getting banged up and everything. So hopefully he can stay healthy and stay in these games. And in these 2 games, people can be critical about his performance and what he did in these 2 games, but he is still a freshman. And I know we've kind of set the bar and ego high for him and what he needs to produce for this team, but he still has some growth and some moments in there where he makes some of those freshman mistakes. He tries to thread the needle with some passes that are maybe a little bit ill-advised and everything. And to me, what I see when I see those types of things, he ended with 5 turnovers in the Elon game, and let me get to the stats for last night's game, 3 turnovers. So he cleaned it up a little bit in last night's game. But what I see in some of those passes that he did, like he did to Race last night, trying to thread the needle in between, is that he's just got to realize that those don't work as well in the college game. He is still programmed for the high school game on a lot of those passes. Now, it looks great in his IQ and the fact that he can see those little openings there. I like that, but those are going to get intercepted and taken care of a lot more at this level than he had to deal with at the high school level. So that's just an adjustment period that he's still going through. So I'm fine with that. But I like a lot of his other numbers that he had in this game. The second half, he really kind of turned it on. Ended with 17 points. Excuse me, that's the wrong game. 18 points, but 17 points in the Elon game, 18 points in last night's game, 6 for 8 from the field. I liked how he got downhill, 1 for 1 from 3. So he just took that 1 3-point shot. Again, it's not in his wheelhouse quite yet. So I like that he takes a lower volume, only takes those ones that he knows he can hit. And I believe, if I remember right, that was a very long 3-pointer. 4 defensive rebounds. Good to see him crashing the glass on that. 3 assists. Obviously would like a lot more. I'll get into that a little bit more because I think that's a product of how Indiana was playing offense. A lot less ball sharing and movement and screens until we got into the second half. But a decent game for him. Impacted it well. The only thing that I wish we could see more is just him getting downhill a little bit more, getting to the basket a little more. He did that in the second half, but in the first half, I want to see him aggressive with that in the first half. Obviously, the other big thing to speak on in this game, and both of these games to a degree, he really came on in the second half of this game, is Tamar Bates. He's your leading scorer in last night's game with 19 points, 7 for 12 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3-point line, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Did a really good job kind of putting himself in situations and hitting the shots when it came around for him. It was interesting to see or hear in the post game. Coach said, I ran a few things for Tamar to get shots. You did. You ran a few things. Take that few out of there. Run more things for Tamar to get shots. Run more things, period, coach. That would maybe transition into talking about this offense and the aggravation that you feel watching this team right now, because it is truly a team that you can tell has focused on its star player. And even when our star player is in there, when we have Trace Jackson Davis, the offense is just too stagnant right now. It all started in the first half. You saw it where we would just throw it into the post, and then everyone would just stand around. They just stand there. No one was diving to the basket, cutting through. Just stand. Watch Race grab the ball, and to the point, and Jess Settles, who obviously Indiana fans, and we all love hearing him calling games, got very active on Twitter with Indiana fans. It was great to see. Pointed out that that's fine if you're going to stand around for that split second. But Race needs to, or whoever gets the ball on the block delivered like that, needs to immediately make a move, immediately do something. And that was my complaint with Race, is that he was very indecisive. And actually, you could even, I think, classify that for the whole team. They were just very timid on offense when they got the ball. They weren't looking to attack right away. They were just scanning around looking for, well, who else can I give it to have them do something? That's fine, looking for the open person, but look to get yours as well. I mean, look to see what you can do first to break down the defense. How can you drive as a guard and cause the defense to collapse on you, and then who can you kick to? Just with Race, switching back to him, he would grab it, he would hold the ball up, he would wait, he would look. He could have made a move, he could have passed it out. He waits for that double team to come, then he finally starts dribbling against his guy. By that time, his man is recovered and the double team has gotten there. And then he finally would throw up a shot or pass it out. By that point, everything is recovered and nothing could be done from there. So that's a big aggravation with this offense. Now, a positive thing to say, at the end of the second half, Coach finally got wise to that in an argument that you've heard us say here and Assembly call, you've heard a lot, where we're just clogging that lane. IU clogs the lane like there's nothing else. I mean, we've got Race and Trace sitting underneath and not doing much for each other. And teams obviously know now to game plan against that, just double, triple team down underneath there. You don't have to worry about anything else because the rest of the guys are just standing around. You know where your player's going to be when you have to recover to them. Just deal with that. Do something else with that. And it was good to see in the first half, we at least finally came to that realization that a lot of us fans have been arguing for. and we went smaller. We got rid of the two big guys clogging up underneath, and surprise, surprise, the lanes were open. Guys were able to drive, get baskets, good dump outs. Race would come out for and set screens, and that caused great rotation. And Jalen Hood-Schifino got to the basket through those. That was so great to see. And we went away from that, obviously. We're going to. Woody is stubborn with his starting fives, and they're going to start the game, and they're going to go in at the second half. And we sat on that lineup again for a little while at the beginning of the second half, and it bit us a little bit. Not too bad, not like it did at the start of the game. But then we need to realize we've got to go back to that. And he did. And things got better. And Tamar got hot. And Jalen got hot as well, because there was room for them to play. There was room for them to drive around their men, to use their athleticism, use their abilities, and take care of things. In the overall, those two guys finished 9 for 12, 27 points from Tamar and Jalen Hood-Schifino in just the second half itself. So that needs to be seen in tape, and that needs to continue to happen with this team. It can be achieved with Jordan if you feel like this coaching staff feels like we have to have another bigger body in there to compensate. Do that with Jordan. I know Jordan still is lacking and struggling to find his way exactly, and has those few mess ups that he does, but he can be a guy, if he can turn his motor all the way up like he does, to clean up those rebounds, to dive to the basket when some of the guys are in there. It's got to be figured out from this coaching staff and from Woody. And I don't know if he's so stubborn and set in his ways with his players, but if we continue to have lacking lineups like we do, we need to play with our best that we have. And that's what these smaller lineups do for this team. Because when we have the two bigs in now, the billboards are out there on how to defend and deal with Indiana with two bigs on the court at the same time. So, yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. Another player that I was happy to see get a good run, and I guess that would be my one tip of the hat and the one lucky thing in a process and situation like we're in for these two kind of non-conference easy, I should say, in quotation, games here right at the break, is one, to be able to relax Trace like we did, and the guys that we had out gets a little bit more run for our deeper bench, the guys that towards the end of our bench. And good to see those minutes get out there for those guys. I mean, CJ Gunn, if we pop back to the Elon game, was really kind of a not a shocker, I wouldn't say, for us, because we all kind of knew he had that energy and that excitement in him. But just great to see how he could impact a game. And he finished with 11 points, 5 for 10 from the field, 1 for 4 from three. Would love to see him hit a few more of those three shots. Obviously, we know he can do that. But he just continues to be that energy and that ball and that spark and that dog. And I don't know if you guys see it as well, but I see a lot of Troy Williams in him. Just that athletic guy that's just going to go out there and just go full throttle and do what he can, and can make some shots, can make some athletic dunks. I mean, the end of the first half in that game, Elon game, gets that steal and that drive and that dunk on that breakaway, was just amazing to see, and so great to think of the future with this player. And not only that, but just the few minutes that he can steal and be a little bit of a spark. Still is a little bit of a wild card, obviously, on defense, but I feel like he's improved as the year has gone on with his defense. I feel like you have to have on a team, especially a team that is playing timid like we are right now. You need that wild card. You need that wild bull that's in there that's kind of mixing things up and going crazy and everything. And it may cause them to have a little bit of foul trouble here and there. I think he finished with 4 fouls the on the Elon game. So barely, nearly fouled out in the Elon game. Only didn't have as much of a run in last night's game. Didn't score a basket. Only had 5 minutes. So would love to have seen him a lot more. I think all those minutes were in the first half. Even we didn't really see him in the second half. But just love what he brings moving forward for this team. He's a player that has that energy, and he just yeah. Again, I always go back to Troy Williams and that guy. I mean, let me know if you think that's crazy to do that, but yeah, a great player for the future and an excitement to have on this team. Now, jumping back to the Elon game as well, we got a little deeper in our bench on the Elon game, obviously, because that game was being taken care of. Caleb Banks got 11 minutes in that game. Was 3 for 4 from the field. Made his free throws. Saw some good things from him, and would love to see a few more minutes out of him as well. And he's another one of those players that like Jordan Geronimo, how we should be playing slightly smaller ball can be a great 4-man to be out there. He can play that 4, still bring some athleticism and some size for defense and for rebounding and everything. Obviously, he still has some learning to do, but was good to see him get at least 11 minutes in the first game. Didn't see the floor last night, which was a little bit of a bummer. Would have loved to see him pop in there towards the end of the game. The other one rounding out kind of that talking of the bench, Logan Duncombe. How about Logan? Especially in the Elon game. Again, 10 baskets, 5 for 6 from the field. Missed his free throws. Would have liked to see him hit his free throws just because he does have that decent mid-range game, so free throws should be easier for him. Had 17 minutes in that Elon game. Got out there in the first half just for about 2 minutes, just spelled. He's another one that I would love to see maybe play a few more minutes for Indiana in this game last night. But Logan Duncombe, again, is another one that I like his fight. I like his dog. I like the things he does that's off the stat sheet. I feel like he's going to be one of those players as well that we're so used to with Indiana being that underneath best player type of team. And who knows, as we move forward and as we start to get away from that in our recruiting and in players that we get, Logan Duncombe is just a good complementary big guy to have with stars that you have on the outside, because he's going to be always there and available. He's going to gobble up rebounds, and he's going to give you the effort plays that you need from a team. So I hope that he continues to improve. His defense is obviously where he's a step slower than some teams and some players. So that's where some struggles will come from him. But I like seeing what he gives to us as a teammate on this team. Race Thompson. I want to speak on him a little bit with these 2 games, because Race, going into it, I've been pretty hard on him. And because he's a senior, a super senior, if you will, I feel like I can be harder on him than I can on other players, because where's he been? I don't feel like, and maybe is that my fault for setting my bar too high for Race going into this year? But there was so much talk of the glue guy and that fighter and stuff for this team and the bruiser. And you saw it in games. One of my favorite things to see was there was one player, I forgot exactly what game and situation it was, but one of the guards was getting chippy with another guy, or one of our players got fouled really hard or something like that. And Race just kind of got in the face of the opponent that just kind of fouled our guy hard, and just kind of didn't yell or anything, but just his presence and his size just kind of gave him the let me see you effing try that. Just try me now kind of situation. And I love that about him. I love him. I love the mentality of him being our bruiser, of him being our don't F with us type of player. And I struggle to find that this year out of him. This game and this little stretch here without Trace is obviously his chance to come out and do some things for us. And I think he got back towards that a little bit. I like in the second half where he came out a lot more out of the post and set some screens and got the movement going and everything. I already spoke to it a little bit before when I was just speaking over our offense overall, that I thought that Race just hesitates with everything this year. I don't know if he's too in his head, if he's being critical of his movements, if he's trying to be over calculating with what he's going to do. I just want to see him play. It's being that glue guy and being that off the stat sheet kind of guy. Those plays and those things that he brought to this team, when we talked about that, are not situations where he has to think. Those are situations where he just had to react and just do what his instincts told him to do. And maybe that's what it is this year. Maybe he feels like he has to have a bigger role. And in these games, especially with Trace out, he felt like he needed to step up and do things. So maybe that's what slowed him down. But I don't like that out of him. I want him to be more, I got the ball. Okay, I'm coming at you. I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm going to bully my way through you, and I'm going to dump that little hook that I like to do. And it's just, I don't know. Again, sometimes we find out after the seasons that a player has been playing banged up or they've been dealing with something. So maybe he's dealing with something we just don't know about, something a little nagging or something like that. But I want to see more out of him. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to challenge him that he can be better. He can do better. He's a senior. He knows. I'm sure he's got to know that he can do better. And I hope he can find that. I hope he can find the game that he used to have and that he knows he can be and do for this team. I think a final player to kind of focus on in this is another player that I know we're very excited for is Malik Renew. And he is a great player and a great future focus point for our team. As I stated before, saying if we get away from teams where we have a big man that's going to be our best player, might not be the case with Malik on in the future for this team. Now, he's struggled recently. That's been obvious, and I think it's been the game kind of speeding up for him a little bit, and how that can affect freshmen. Once the game starts to slow down for teams, for freshmen, you start to see things click a little bit better. But when the game seems a little bit faster for them, that's where you see kind of fundamentals hurt and struggle for players. You saw that with his game where guys will dig on him and knock his dribble loose. Things like that. Situations like that, the traveling that he's been called for a lot, which some may not be, but that's the game going faster for him and him feeling like he needs to get going and his feet get going before his hands and the ball get going. So that's what a lot of the travels are opening up for him. So I'm not concerned overall with what Malik is doing and everything, but it's just those freshman woes are creeping up quickly. And we, unfortunately, in the early games against lesser competition, got to see what he can be and got to see a preview of what he is and what he can do when the game is slow enough for him and when it clicks like that and when he doesn't get sped up or in his head too much. He's got great footwork. He's great under the basket. He does really well for the most part against contact. But he's just going through those growing pains, and he's gonna get better, and that's exciting. I'm here for that, and maybe now I'd like to see. I don't know if we saw it. You can let me know if it was or something. Maybe I was wrong, but maybe he just needs that smaller lineup like we started to play towards the end. If it's too congested and everything in there for him, we need to play that smaller ball with him being the big in there for us. So we'll see as things move forward with him, and he'll continue to get minutes. He'll continue to get play, obviously, because he has showed early on in the season and impressed the coaching staff enough to earn those minutes. And every single minute and every single struggle even for him just makes him grow as a player and gets things that much closer to what we believe he can be for this team. So again, these two games, always tough to play these games so close to break, especially the game last night, so close to Christmas and everything. Bravo to those that did show up to the game. Hope you made it home well. Hope you're surviving this cold spell that you guys are having up there. Down here in the South, we're even having that cold spell. I know it's around the 20s or so, and you may be laughing at us down here, but my blood is thinned out living in the South now, and that is cold, cold, cold for me. But keep yourself safe. Keep yourself warm and everything as we go along through here. And hold on to your hats because it's Big Ten time. We get into this Big Ten season, and it's a very interesting Big Ten, as it always is. What's great to see is that IU's got an extended break, about 13 days now. Our next game is at Iowa, January 5th at 9 p.m. Iowa, always a tough game to play. Not going to have the greatest defense, as always. Always entertaining from a fan to watch and see how quickly Fran gets mad and aggravated in these games. We'll be on FranCon alert. That's always an exciting side circus, I guess you could say, to watch in these games against Iowa. Iowa lost a big one, and that's what kind of obviously made some IU fans as well equally nervous going into this Kennesaw game as well. But IU struggled against them and everything and made things nervous. And Iowa's coming off that loss and everything, and obviously that hurts to them. And Fran was probably exploding on them in practice and everything like that. So they're going to be coming out ready to play and everything. And then just the Big Ten overall. It's been mixed up so much since we started this year. Obviously, it could be anyone's game. People going into it weren't as high on Purdue as they are now. It's kind of flip-flopped where everyone was high on Indiana being a leader going into it. Now Indiana has its kinks and its things to get over and get the confidence back up. Illinois has struggled. Michigan State struggled at the beginning, had a tough non-conference schedule, and they will continue to get better as they always do. Michigan has been struggling, but had some good bright spots. Rutgers is going to be Rutgers and is going to upset a lot of teams like they did us and play some tough ball and everything, but then also lose some head scratchers. So it's going to be a very, very interesting Big Ten season. We need to protect our home court, and we need to clean some things up. This team continues to want to be the team that lays its hat on defense. And as we saw in this game, I didn't even speak about that, but the defense needs to improve. Over helping like we have so much, teams are going to make us hurt against that. And we saw in the Kennesaw State what our over helping that gets frustrating to me and to many of you can do when you have a team that can hit those threes. So we've got to continue to improve in all atmospheres. And I think where that starts for this Indiana team is just through hustle, through energy, through effort. That level needs to get turned up because I think it's lacked for a little bit recently. So as always, it's exciting. We'll be there for every game. Sorry, Martha couldn't be here. Martha had to do some last minute Christmas errands, I will say, just to keep it as broad as possible. We'll maybe get Martha to speak on that when we're back with you after that Iowa game. So yeah, that's going to do it on this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Guys, thank you for being with me. A very Merry Christmas to you and yours, those that celebrate Christmas, that is. Happy holidays to everyone else that is watching. Don't want to exclude anyone in the audience in that situation, but what a great season it is. Be thankful for what you have. Keep your loved ones close and everything. I'm thankful for all of you guys. I'm thankful to have this sport to watch and everything. Be safe out there. Stay warm. Keep that fire roaring. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this show. I appreciate you greatly. That'll do it for this edition. Until then, guys, as always, go out there, have a wonderful day, and go Hoosiers.